Hey everyone, Mike Miller with the Herald Times. I'm joined by not Jeremy Price this week. Jeremy was working in the office this evening. I got my pal, Stu Jackson from thehoosier.com. Is it thehoosier.com?
Yes, sir.
It's the new Indiana Rivals site. They do a great job over there. Stu's a friend, making his Scoop Talk debut. Be kind.
Yes, take it easy on me, please.
No, thanks for joining me, Stu. Here to break down a 87-48 win. It was basically all Indiana. It was just dominance basically from the start. Dominance too. I think they left some points on the floor too. Scoring 87 points, probably easily should have gotten over 100 in this game, but 26 turnovers was they were a bit problematic, as we'll say here. 17 of those turnovers came in the first half. Just really a sloppy start for I think a number of different reasons, but this was a game where Indiana still found a way to dominate, but it could have been a whole lot more one-sided. Speaking with Coach Green after the game, he pointed to footwork, and I think what he means there is, I think we saw some of the turnovers stemming from travels and just kind of going too quick and going too quick, playing out of pace, out of sync was another reason.
Sure. Some of the offensive fouls too.
Yeah, those two. Liberty also played a pack line defense, which it seemed it took a few minutes early on, especially for Indiana to really figure that out as they were moving down the floor. So I think that would also contribute to some of the turnover issues. But 20 points for James Blackman. Also had 5 turnovers. So he says, granted this was another productive night for him, he's going to be looking at the turnovers as he moves forward.
Sure. Yeah, James Blackman had a great night. He became the 3rd player in the last 10 years to have at least 20 points in each of his first 3 games in a season, joining Yogi Ferrell and Eric Gordon. So that was a pretty neat stat that we learned tonight. But again, the scoring will be there always, it seems like, for James Blackman Jr. He's rarely going to have an off-shooting night. Another performance I felt like really stood out was OG Anunoby getting his first career double-double. 10 points to 11 rebounds. Just pretty good all-around effort, again, despite some of those mistakes and turnovers and whatnot.
He actually, at halftime, had more rebounds than Liberty. He had 9 rebounds at halftime. Liberty had 7.
Mm-hmm.
Indiana out-rebounded Liberty 55-20. I mean, there were points, I think Alex Bozich even said the whole point of this out on Twitter at one point, but there were just points where there were just no one in a Liberty jersey around the basket after shots. I mean, it was just Indiana had a clear lane there. They're also bigger and more imposing. I mean, they impose their will all night.
Mm-hmm.
But this was obviously one that tipped far in Indiana's favor as far as rebounds. I was actually kind of surprised OG's previous career high was 7, and I think he set that against Kansas last week. So I guess it makes sense. Whenever I think back to last season, I've always seemed to feel like him reaching out those long tree limb arms and grabbing rebounds. But no, 11 rebounds tonight. Yeah, stop. 11 rebounds tonight for OG. Juwan Morgan made his first career start, and that gave Indiana a starting 5 of James Blackman Jr., Rob Johnson, OG, Juwan Morgan, and Thomas Bryant. I really like that look for Indiana. Again, we've seen so many different lineups rotations through these first 3 games of the season, and I think Juwan Morgan already stood to play some important minutes, but I just love having, again, I think I mentioned this in the last Scoop Talk, I just love Juwan Morgan's game. I love his versatility. I love all the things he brings, especially without Colin Hartman. I mean, that's a guy who does so many of the little things, the important things, the intangible things that winning teams need.
Yeah, he had, I believe within that 20, it was like a 24-0 stretch in a near 5.5 minute span in the first half, or a 24-0 run, excuse me. He had 5 points, 3 defensive rebounds, and a steal on that span. So he gives them a really different dynamic when he's in the starting lineup. James Blackman Jr. kind of talked about it after the game, just the energy he brings and the rebounding and all of that. And, Tom Crean decided to try something different out with Liberty being such a great 3-point shooting team. I mean, I think according to Ken Palm, 35.5% of their shot volume could have been or was attributed to all the 3-point attempts they took, which was something like 45th in the country. So, I mean, they took a lot of threes and pretty successful with making those threes. And again, Juwan Morgan being in the lineup really made quite the difference, especially with it being 39-7 at one point. Mm-hmm. I mean, it got out of hand pretty quickly.
Yeah, no, we should have mentioned this earlier. The 24-0 run. I briefly had memories of Michigan game last year. I think it was a 28-0 run or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that 24-0 run built the lead to 39-7, and at which point Indiana was just cruising the rest of the way. That 24-0 run coincided with a 7-minute dry spell for Liberty where they didn't have a single point, let alone a basket, didn't even get anything at the free throw line. It was just, again, total Indiana domination. Liberty was who we thought they were, so it goes. Speaking of James Blackman Jr., this will be a nice little trip back to Fort Wayne this week. Indiana's next game is Tuesday night in Fort Wayne, taking on Fort Wayne, formerly IPFW. I don't know when they made that. Did they make that? They were IPFW last year, right? They came in here as IPFW, I think.
Mm-hmm. I mean, if you Google them, it still shows up as IPFW in the search results.
So I was curious if they were still the Mastodons. I think they are still the Mastodons. Yeah. I was Googling them earlier. Yeah, they did come up as IPFW, but that's for here nor there. We can dive into that ahead of Tuesday's game.
Sure.
But yeah, I think that it sounds like that's going to be a fun trip back to Fort Wayne for James Blackman Jr., who knows a couple guys on that Fort Wayne team. And again, right now he's really pacing Indiana's offense, and curious to see what he'll do in a road environment. Because I mean, I think you're going to get a healthy number of Indiana fans up there in Fort Wayne. But two, I think it's good that they can actually go on the road and play another Indiana outpost with both their fans and actually get some sort of hostile road environment here in the non-conference season.
Sure, and I mean, even in Indiana's first game, James Blackman Jr. had a really, really good game. So, I mean, this will be a great opportunity for him not to go home and see some family and some childhood friends who are playing for Fort Wayne. I mean, Bryson Scott, one of those kids, childhood friend, Purdue transfer who's now at IPFW, of course. I mean, that'll be a good opportunity to see guys like him and again, family, all kinds of good things like that ahead of Thanksgiving. So,
sticking with Indiana's backcourt momentarily, should probably mention Josh Newkirk had started the first 2 games of the year, didn't start tonight. He was the first guy off the bench, but Juwan Morgan replaced him in the lineup tonight. Wasn't a great night for Newkirk. He lost a tooth. He was took a blow under the basket about midway through the second half, I suppose, and he was down, like he was doubled over there was a moment there I thought he was grabbing his knee, but I think he was just in so much pain. He was just kind of clutching at both knees and trying to collect himself. He went into the locker room. They looked at it. He came back to the bench. I don't think he played the rest of the way. Right after the game, Tom Crean said he was going to get some. He was getting some dental attention. They're going to try to replace the tooth, give him a mouth guard for the next game, and hopefully he'd be ready to go for Tuesday night. But so. New look lineup, even with all the mixing and matching. Indiana going with the different looks tonight, as we mentioned. We'll see how it plays out on Tuesday night in Fort Wayne. After that,
Mississippi Valley State on Sunday,
right.
And then North Carolina on Wednesday. 2 weeks.
Counting down the days to North Carolina
on November 30th. I mean, up until that game, I think we're going to be seeing a lot of these different lineup looks, like the experimentation with having Juwan Morgan in the starting lineup tonight. I mean, all these games Indiana's going to be pretty heavily favored. They'll talk about having respect for all these opponents, which they should. But again, I mean, given that they're heavily favored, there will be at least 2 more opportunities ahead of the North Carolina game for them to kind of figure out what they really like on the court, look-wise,
and these games are for.
Things like that.
This is still getting to know this team, but there's a lot to like, and we saw a lot of that on display tonight. Turnovers aside, there's a lot to like with this team, and it's room for growth. So, with that, for Stu Jackson, a man with the plan from thehoosier.com, it didn't rhyme. Mike Miller, we'll talk to you probably Monday, previewing Fort Wayne. Till then, have a great weekend.